Hey everybody, welcome to week 7. It's February 28th through March 6th. We have a lot to do this week, so let's get to it. So as you know, this is the second week of our writing unit, and with previous experience from the first unit, the second week has lots of work to do. You are working on the thesis for your paper, as well as finding resources to help support your argument. So there's just a lot of work that you need to do. So let's skip down to the to-do list here, and it's numbered this time instead of bullet points. Here I have the first point is read through the possible research questions below and think of a research question for this next essay. So if you read through this gives you a little rationale of how to best come up with a topic and how to start formulating a thesis for your essay. And one of those key movements in research argumentative writing is to have a research question. And the answer to your question would then be the basis of your thesis. So I asked some questions. When you're thinking about Crenshaw's video, The Urgency of Intersectionality, what questions came to mind? Were there things that she said that you agreed with? Were there things that you disagreed with? So by asking yourself these questions, you start to figure out your own thoughts, your own ideas, the opinions that you have. And that's the basis for adopting a stance and creating an argumentative thesis. So below you'll see a list of questions here. These are by no means the extent of what you should think about relating to Crenshaw's video. This is actually, these are some questions that I've taken from past classes that we've had where we met for live sessions. And these are questions that students actually came up with. So I'm using these as, a springboard for you to get some ideas for a topic for your paper, and to hopefully get into the right direction for creating a thesis and locating those sources. So the next point up here is to review the material in the thesis statements folder. So just like in the first unit, I have divided up the resources that we have for thesis statement, locating sources, and the annotated bibliography. So let's open up the thesis statements folder and see what resources we have here. Here again, you will see my lecture on thesis statements. It's a short lecture, comes in at under 5 minutes. If you need to review it, by all means, that's why I put it here for you to review. Again, the handouts and website are also the same as the resources that we had in the first unit. I placed them here so that you can refer to them instead of having to find wherever it was for the essay 1 unit. So then you'll create your argumentative thesis statement that responds to a statement made by the speaker in the video. It really does need to be related to the video in some way. Next, you will read the information in locating and assessing sources folder. So this is actually a new folder. I did not include it in the first unit. But you will see that some of the things are more or less the same. First thing I have here is a PDF called Assessing Sources, and this is from an online text called Writing Spaces, Readings on Writing. And these are some really wonderful essays written by writing scholars. And this one I thought was really very good at explaining why it's important to have credible sources so that you can craft a well-informed argument. So it's 14 pages, and I just find it to be a really good resource. So I encourage you to read it. As you'll see, there are lots of text examples here, so it's not text examples, lots of images here, so it's not all reading. There are a lot of visual elements related to it, as well as her work cited at the end, or their work cited at the end. Multiple authors. So I encourage you to read that It's very informative. Again, we have the link to the Cincinnati State Library Guide, the finding articles, and this is just a reminder that when you access the databases from off campus, you'll need to log in with your last name and your college ID. There's also a very short video on how to use Google Scholar. So the last unit, several of you asked if you could use resources from outside of the Cincinnati State databases. And that's fine, provided that they're credible sources. So you can't just pull any old website. You need to put it through that CRAP test. Remember, I think most of you did the little workshops that the library provided on how to find credible sources, and you put them through that CRAP test, C-R-A-A-P, to make sure that they're on the up and up. Google Scholar is another great way to search for more scholarly articles, you know, more academic sources. So if you watch this little tutorial, it's a short tutorial, it'll show you how to use Google Scholar, and then there's the link to Google Scholar itself. I'll actually click on the link so you see what it looks like. It looks almost like a regular old Google search page, except you're looking for articles. You don't need to click on case law, I don't think, but then you can put in your search terms and you will be able to find and locate sources. And the video tells you, goes into greater detail. This here, scholarly sources and popular sources, is another short video explaining why the differences between scholarly and popular and why you want to go with something that's a little bit more scholarly. I'm not saying that you can't use popular sources and that you can't use a certain website. If you find something that is credible and relevant to your research, but it's not a peer-reviewed scholarly article, that's okay. And I will point these things out in your rough drafts or in your annotated bibliography. And yet again, down here from the University of British Columbia, their library, they have a guide on evaluating information sources. So it just goes through authority, authorship, accuracy, and scope. But I found that to be a very informative page as well. So take a look at those resources if you're struggling to find good resources, credible resources, and that kind of thing. So the next thing on our list is to use that English 102 research guide, Google Scholar, or another reliable method and find 5 possible sources for your essay. So the first time, since it was your first time doing the annotated bibliography, I only had you looking up 3 sources for your annotated bibliography. This time, I'm going to push you a little bit more and ask you to find 5 possible sources. Remember, the sources should support your thesis, and it's going to be in MLA format. So if you don't remember how to do the annotated bibliography, we have the folder of information down here. Again, we have my overview video, which explains how to do the annotated bibliography, the link to the University of North Carolina, a link to Purdue OWL, some samples, the sample annotation from my video, and I've included this link on MLA Works Cited electronic sources. And I'll just click on that to show you what this is. Since we're dealing primarily with web publications, I don't think many of you are actually going into the library and getting out books and looking up parts of books. There is a way to do that online, but it's a little bit more tricky. So anyway, we're pretty much limited to web publications. So this is a good resource on how to properly cite electronic sources. Again, these are all the various containers, all the publishing information that you need to include. Here's an example template. and then how to deal with websites, course or department websites, a page on a website, an ebook, images that you found online, an article in a web magazine. They're all fairly similar. An article in an online scholarly journal. Again, if you're using the English 102 library database thing, you'll understand that you can actually copy and paste. Just be sure that you make any kind of corrections here as far as how it's formatted. Online scholarly journal that also appears in print. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Even tweets, YouTube videos and TED videos will follow the same kind of thing. You would just put TED in there and you would eliminate the uploaded portion and then have the correct website. Again, you can also use citation machine, plug in your URL for the website, click on cite, and go through it that way. Just make sure that you choose MLA9 from the drop-down menu when you use your citation generator. And there is a video on that, I think, in the first unit. So that is citation and the annotated bibliography. What else do we need to take a look at? So review the material and then write your annotated bibliography and submit it with your thesis statement by the due date, which is Sunday, March 6th. As always, I am pretty flexible on the due date. So if you anticipate that you're not going to be able to locate all those sources in time for Sunday, just send me an email and say, hey, I'm working on it. I expect to be done by Tuesday or whatever. That way I can be on the lookout for it and it's not sitting there waiting until the next time I decide to check the grade center. So that is that. Hi there. So there were a few things that came up as I was grading your final revisions, and one of the things that came to my mind was that perhaps some of you aren't sure how to access the feedback that I provide on your rough drafts. I spend a significant amount of time providing feedback so that students can benefit from the things that I point out on their paper. Sometimes it's like I point out really great things, and sometimes I point out things that need to be corrected, you know, simple editing mistakes. But then there are also those things that, you know, there just really needs to be significant revision in order to improve the paper. So here I am. I actually submitted and graded my own paper, which is called Really, Really Rough Draft. And I'll show that to you in a second. So here is how the main area that you can access your feedback. When you go into My Grades in the student version, you have several different options. The easiest thing, you look over here, you see that it's been graded, and you see, oh, I got a 5 out of 5. I must have done really great on my rough draft. You can click on the little feedback and you'll see the feedback that I've typed into the feedback section. However, this is not an accurate portrayal of what really needs to be done. The next thing you can do is click on View Rubric. And I don't, let me see if this will share for you. There we go. Hopefully this is sharing. So a new window will pop up and you'll be able to look at the things in the rubric. I typically don't leave feedback in the rubric just because it's just easier for me to tick boxes and get through it quickly. darn it. Sorry about that. I closed my window too soon. So with the view rubric, you can just see quickly what needs to be fixed and what is okay. The thing I want to point out is that you need to click on the assignment. So if you click on the assignment, this will take you to your submission page, right? And here you will be able to look at your draft. You'll be able to see the rubric. You'll be able to look at the feedback that I've typed out to you, but then you'll also be able to see the inline comments. So I use a combination of highlighting and pen markings to indicate different things that might need to be corrected. And then there's typically comments. Let me show that. Then there's typically comments over to the side on, suggestions for revision. So here, as you can see, this is called, no, you can't see. It's called Really, Really Rough Draft. Yeah, Really, Really Rough Draft. That is actually the title that I used for an assignment that I submitted in graduate school. But it wasn't. I'll explain the stipulations for the assignment was just to have an introduction and then to come up with an outline. There was a prospectus. It was a scaffolded assignment. There were several different pieces, and this was just part of it. But you'll see here, we're excited. And I make a comment to myself that remember to only list those works you cite or change the page to works consulted. Because there are several here that I'm like, I don't know if I would actually quote from each of these. I've not finished this. This intended essay, I did not finish it because I wasn't required to finish it, but I think it would make a really good article. Maybe something I'll do in the future. Anyway, that is how you can access the variety of ways in which I provide feedback. I think that's really, really important for students to know that it's not just what shows up on this page right here, right? And if I give you a 5 out of a 5 on a rough draft, because I don't believe in actually grading a rough draft, it just means that you completed the assignment to my satisfaction, that you got most of the things that you needed to do done, and that you really need to look at the document to see what other things need to be done, what needs to be fixed. For some of you, you have trouble with your works cited page and citing things properly. So I usually will help you with that to get the right citations. I'll put them in as a text thing that's usually up above, or I might, put them in wherever I can, or even sometimes I will create a document and attach it to the feedback. Another thing I want to call attention to here is Safe Assign. The rough drafts have to go through Safe Assign, and if you click on this, you'll see a number, 18% overall match. And then you can click on the originality report. I want to make sure that this is popping up for you. It is, and you will see here where these things come from, where the matches are coming from, right? So interesting that most of the things that are popping up in this 18% have to do with my citations. So pretty much legit, right? Global database from a student paper, learning the uses of chaos. Where's the orange one? I don't see it. Oh, Marxist, purple, again, Norton, and green here, and Berthoff. And then the epistemic approach, which is from Louisville. And then you can open the matching source and actually see where that's from. Bruce Horner. That's where that's from. And do I have Horner in my my list of people? Maybe. I know I've read him. Okay, so that is Safe Assign. I'll close that. And so that's another thing to pay attention to. So that is it for week 7. That was my mini lecture on how to access feedback. As I said, I do spend a lot of time because I do care about your success in this course. And I want you to be the best writer that you can possibly be. You know, I want to see you grow as writers and to learn these skills so you can carry them over not only into other classes, but also use the critical reading and critical thinking and analysis and argumentation skills in your chosen career paths, because this is something that's just going to serve you for the rest of your life. If you know how to think clearly and to communicate clearly, you're going to go a really long way. So next week, I am going to talk to you about incorporating citations and incorporating information from other people and using signal phrases, which I've referred to before in my feedback, how to do block quotations, kind of all the nitty-gritty things of incorporating research into your papers. But for now, if you have any questions on the thesis, your topic, your annotated bibliographies, please just shoot me an email. If you aren't sure if your topic quite gels with the video, it's always best to check with me to see if it's okay and that you're on the right path before you start researching and digging through sources and finding a bunch of stuff. I want to make sure that you're on the right path. So good luck. Don't freak out too much. And if you have any questions, email me. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.